Welcome to Montessori in the Sun City, brought to you by Escuela Montessori and Coronado Montessori, who have been serving El Paso's community since 1974. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting to explore the world of Montessori, we're here to provide insightful conversations, valuable information, and a fresh perspective. And now, on to the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Montessori in the Sun City. Over the last 2 episodes, we've kind of been touching base with you on who we are as a family, where we started, and how the future is kind of looking like for us. If you get a chance, go back in and check out episode 1 and 2, and you can gather a lot more information about all of those details. Today, what I thought I would do is go over what I'm going to call Montessori 101. By answering 10 questions, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what Montessori is, where it came from, and what makes it special. The demand for Montessori education in the United States is rising at a faster rate than ever before. Did you know that according to AMS, which is American Montessori Society, there are currently an estimated 22,000 Montessori programs in 110 countries, and nearly 4,000 of them are here in the United States? Wow, that is amazing. So let's get into Montessori 101. I'm going to cover several questions that over the years we've been asked. If you are new to Montessori and are anything like I was, I'm going to be honest, it can be a lot. Yes, learning about Montessori can feel overwhelming, especially for new parents or educators due to the depth and the detail of the method, its specific terminology, and the emphasis on child-centered learning, which can differ significantly from a traditional education approach. But don't worry, we are in this together, and the best part is you can always go back and re-listen and re-listen and re-listen as many times as you need to this podcast. Okay, get comfy and let's get started. So one of the first questions we always get asked is, what is Montessori? Well, Montessori is a philosophy and method of education which emphasizes the potential of the young child and develops that potential by utilizing specially trained teachers and special teaching materials. It is a child-centered approach based on specific observations of children from birth to adulthood. Not many people realize that it actually goes to adulthood. Developed by Dr. Maria Montessori, it emphasizes self-directed and self-motivated learning, hands-on activities, and the development of the whole child physically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively. Montessori recognized in the child a natural curiosity and desire to learn. The Montessori materials awaken this desire and channel their curiosity into a learning experience, which the child enjoys. Montessori materials help the child to understand what it is that he's learning by associating an abstract concept with a concrete sensorial experience. In this manner, the Montessori child is actually learning and not just memorizing. The Montessori method stresses that children learn and progress at their own pace so that fast learners are not held back and slower learners are not frustrated by their inability to keep up. You tend to see a lot of this frustration most of the time in public schools or traditional classrooms. Fun fact, did you know Dr. Maria Montessori was the first woman Italian physician? She graduated with honors from medical school, opened her first school in Rome in 1907, and was nominated 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. Talk about pioneer. Number 2, why does a child enjoy learning in a Montessori environment? Montessori allows each child to experience the excitement of learning by his own choice rather than by being forced. Dr. Montessori observed that it was easier for a child to learn a particular skill during their corresponding sensitive period than at any other time in their life. These are periods of intense fascination for learning a particular skill. Montessori allows the child freedom to select individual activities which correspond to his own periods of interest and readiness and to progress at his own pace. A child who acquires the basic skills of reading and arithmetic in this natural way was the advantage of beginning his education without drudgery, boredom, and discouragement. That one, I like to kind of explain it that it's for us as parents, I see kind of more with our own children that when you see kindergartners or what traditional schools refer to as kindergarten, at 5, all of a sudden there's like this awakening. They're so independent. They can tie their shoes. They are curious into reading. All of these skills that they've kind of been learning over the last several years just come to this aha moment. It's truly beautiful, and that's because they are in a sensitive period of learning, which is very natural to them and just amazing when you truly let them follow that. So number 3, what is the Montessori concept of discipline? We get asked this a lot, especially I will say with little boys. When parents of little boys come in and will ask that because they're worried that their little boy, as they describe, is active. Well, the Montessori discipline kind of focuses on an inner discipline. It is a self mastery and self control, which the child develops over his own behavior through his interest in the Montessori materials. Dr. Montessori noted that many children are really frustrated by a lack of proper stimulation and that they become happier and self controlled after a period of time in a Montessori class. In a Montessori classroom, the child's energy and interest is channeled into a constructive education activity instead of listless or mischievous behavior. There's a purpose in the classroom, and we saw this a lot with our own 5. They just truly had a purpose in the classroom. There is also a sense of movement that is important in the classroom. And I can't just say this is for boys. This refers to girls as well. But I think it's kind of ties hand in hand with the concept of discipline. Another thing that we do, and you'll hear a lot of talking about, is positive discipline. There's a really great book, and in the next couple episodes, I'd like to do one that talks about what books do we recommend. And there's a wonderful one that's called Positive Discipline. And I can give you a little bit more information about that at a later episode. Number 4, how does the child learn? This I think is amazing. Children learn by absorbing experiences through the senses. Maria Montessori refers to a lot of this as whole body learning. A young child has an immense ability to absorb a multitude of experiences and is constantly trying to create order out of these sensorial experiences. Dr. Montessori described the child's unique aptitude for learning as the absorbent mind. You may also hear that they are like sponges. The child is absorbing everything in the environment. In the Montessori classroom, which is a special prepared environment, the child finds a sense of order in every educational material with which he works and acquires the joy of learning. That is, his environment has order. His intellect is then trained to make order out of a multitude of experiences, which is the learning process. Number 5, how do Montessori materials teach the child? Dr. Montessori emphasized that children learn through the hands. In order to learn, there must be concentration, and the best way a child can concentrate is by fixing his attention on some task he is performing with his hands. When a child works with the Montessori materials, it satisfies the innate desire of every child to handle concrete materials. Montessori materials relate abstract thoughts to sensorial experiences. For instance, a child traces the letter A on sandpaper letters with his first 2 fingers. The repetition of this experience with all letters eventually results in spontaneous explosion into writing. One of my favorite quotes that Maria Montessori gave or said was, "What the hand does, the mind remembers." And I think that applies even to adults. Number 6, what is the role of the teacher in a Montessori classroom? In Montessori, the role of a teacher is very different from that of a traditional teacher. That role is of an observer of individual interest and needs of each child, and her daily work proceeds from her observations rather than from a prepared curriculum. Now, don't get me wrong, we do have a curriculum in the classroom, but a lot of the times the teacher is observing. That's one of her main goals. The teacher carefully watches the progress of each child in each subject and offers individual assistance when required. She is trained to recognize periods of readiness when the child is ready to be introduced to more advanced materials. Whenever a child makes a mistake, the teacher refrains, if possible, from intervening and allows the child to discover his error through further manipulation of the self correcting material. Number 7, why are children in a Montessori classroom working at different levels? This one is interesting because I know that confuses a lot of prospective parents when they come in and they're like, how is it possible that a child who is 3 years old can be working on something different than a child who is 5? Well, preschool children mature at different ages, and their periods of readiness for academic subjects vary a great deal. The use of individual materials permit a varied pace that accommodates many levels of ability within the classroom. Advanced children in the same room can move from one place of equipment or materials to another very quickly, thus avoiding the boredom of waiting for other members of the class to catch up. That is one thing that I will kind of give a personal comment on with my boys when they transitioned over to other schools. That was hard for them because in a Montessori classroom, it is very much geared towards following the child. And that is what we work on. If a child, say a 4-year-old, is ready to progress throughout a certain area in the classroom, we don't stop them. We follow them because remember, it's whole body learning. And that's part of just really making sure that they're getting what they need. Number 8, why are Montessori children generally self confident, outgoing, and self reliant? If you remember from our last episode, we were interviewed by our son Blake, and that was one of the answers that I gave in reference to what just made our children different, or what experience did they gain from being in our Montessori school that I thought helped them. And that was one of the things that I really noticed. Our boys were very self confident, very outgoing, and self reliant. So, Montessori is based on a profound respect for the child's personality. The child works from his own free choice and is allowed a large measure of independence, which forms the basis of real self discipline. Montessori does away with the necessity of coercion by means of rewards and punishments, which often cause feelings of inferiority and stress. If I can kind of explain this a little bit differently, when you're always giving a child a reward, then what they're learning is that they're not learning to actually accomplish a certain goal or something that they're working on to make themselves feel better, but they're doing it to mainly put that emphasis on making you happy. And you are happy because you are giving them the reward, or that's how they are perceiving it. As each child progresses at his own pace and successfully completes the self correcting exercises, he develops confidence in his ability to understand his environment. Montessori presents endless opportunities among the children for mutual help, which is joyfully given and received. Cooperative social interaction among children of different ages engenders feelings of friendship, respect of rights of others, and self confidence. Number 9, and we get this one a lot. Are all Montessori schools the same? So pay attention when you are going. Go in person if you can. That's very important. All Montessori schools are uneven in quality, and we recommend that you actually go in person and look around. Take your little one with you. Even though each one is following the Montessori method, they do have different niches that the school fulfills. I always tell our prospective parents to follow your gut. You are your child's first teacher, and you will know right away if you are connecting with the school, with their methods, if their morals, their goals, all of that. We get asked a lot of times, what makes our school different? Well, our schools focus not only on the Montessori curriculum, but many areas that you may not find in Montessori schools in this area. We focus a lot on studies of nature and the outdoors, the study of art, cooking, and life skills, and most importantly, patriotism. Number 10, what happens when a Montessori child transfers to other schools? Well, this one I can answer from a mom point of view. Most schools warmly welcome children from Montessori schools. The Montessori child has acquired excellent work study habits, which results in a lifelong pursuit of knowledge and a love of learning. Because the Montessori child has unique qualities of self reliance and self discipline, he easily adjusts to the public school environment, but does not slow down his interest in the learning process and frequently becomes a social and academic leader. It's very interesting. The one thing that we've noticed a lot with our boys that have gone is they are leaders. They tend to have great relationships with other children or students that are in the school, as well as their teachers. They're not afraid of the teachers because they've been in an environment that really focuses on a family type of learning, an atmosphere where they know that they are working very independently. The one thing that I will say over the years that we've noticed is our children do struggle or did struggle a little bit with testing. And it's not because they weren't familiar with any of the information or any of the studies. As a matter of fact, they were much more ahead than the children that were their age. Unfortunately, what we've discovered in the traditional setting is a lot of times the students were being taught to the test. So, where a Montessori child can think outside of the box and really see things in a big picture type of environment, that's where they do struggle a little bit is learning how to take the test. One thing, and that's why we do recommend that when you do transfer your child, that we recommend that you do it at the end of what I referred to earlier as a sensitive period or the age of development. So if you are enrolled in a Montessori school and you are going to transfer your child, we always suggest that you do it before they turn 3, when they're going into first grade, so when they're 6, when they're going into fourth grade, and when they're going into seventh. Because what you're doing is you are allowing that child to finish that developmental plane or just that circle of learning. In a Montessori classroom, you typically see the breakdown of ages are they can have babies up to 3-year-olds. You have 3 to 6-year-olds, 6 to 9-year-olds, 9 to 12. And there are even some schools that go into middle school and high school. But it's so important to let your child actually finish that age of development, finish that circle of learning. Their eyes are opened and they're a little more able to transfer into another way of learning if you do that for them. And that's a great place to end. I hope these 10 questions gave you a little more information about what Montessori is and has continued to spark that excitement about learning more. Don't forget to share with your friends. Until next time, take care and keep listening.
Thank you for listening to Montessori in the Sun City. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen so that you don't miss an episode. To learn more, visit www.epmontessorischools.com.